So it's official. Welcome to our Twin Ready Registry. I'm Natalie Diaz. And like I was just saying for our live viewers, I really, really love baby gear. And so when we teach a few Twiniversity classes. If you guys don't know, we do a Twin Ready Registry like we have here. We do a sleep school for under 6 months. We do one for over 6 months. We do the delivery day boot camp. We do the boob camp. And then we just added a pumping class. Ooh, so keep an eye out for that. I'll give you some dates during the session that we're going to do today. But I love baby gear. And one of the reasons is I live in a very tiny New York City apartment. So it is like a micro apartment, right? So now we know that there's like tiny house living. Most of us in Lower Manhattan have always been, hey, Sam, welcome back. We've always been tiny house living. So I just couldn't have a lot of stuff. So when we found out that we were having two instead of one, because I am a twin mom, it was quite chaotic imagining that I would have to fill my home with two things of everything. Now, not saying that there aren't some things that we don't need two of, but we're going to talk about that today. So today's class is sponsored by CBR and Baby Bretza. The reason why we work with them is because we choose to work with them. You'll notice that anybody that we work with at Twiniversity, they're genuine people that we would have worked with. CBR, I'll tell you more about that later, but it's genuinely swearing a stack of Bibles a regret that I have that not banking my own Twinnies cord blood. And Baby Bretza, you can't beat that. Like, they are seriously one of the most twin-friendly product companies out there. So I love us. We love us some Bretza. All right, so let's jump in. All right, so this is what I need you to have with you today. I need you to have a water bottle, which would be good. I have a glass of water. So I have my water, I have my notebook and pen, and I have my phone too, because I might give you some QR codes. So keep an eye out for those. So those are the only things that you really need to have today. And then you could always reference back to this, right? Okay. So who am I? So I am Natalie Diaz. I'm the founder of Twiniversity. I literally started Twiniversity the day that my twins walked into kindergarten. So that was quite an adventure. But I'm a public speaker, so maybe you've seen me at a lecture near you, at a local twins club. I'm a writer of what to do when you're having two and the newborn twin sleep guide. I'm also a podcaster. Shout out, woo, woo, we're starting to record our new season. So if any of you are interested in being a guest, it is never too early because it's kind of fun. It's like a time capsule if you listen to your episode after your twins are born. I am a childbirth educator in addition to being in IBCLC and a child passenger safety technician. Full disclosure, my child passenger safety technician certification has lapsed, but I do know everything that I need to know for this current time. Now, if you look, I've actually put up pictures of my twinnies. The picture on the top of my little potatoes was the first day that my baby A came home. So my baby B is my son, John, and he is plugged up with that pacifier right there. And then my little girl, Anna Banana, with the ginger hair, still as fiery as that picture is. And then you'll see a picture below. They just turned 21. No, I cannot believe that my 20s are 21, but it has been a wild adventure, to say the least. But we've done a lot in the past 21 years. But like I said, buying stuff had always been like, it's a challenge. I think we had 6 strollers up until one point, and that was a little chaotic, but we're going to talk a lot about strollers today. Now, here's a little breakdown of the timeline that I'd like for you guys to have. And remember, if this does not coincide with the timeline that you are currently using, so if you're like, I'm 17 weeks pregnant and I still haven't started my homework, don't worry about it, right? It's only too late if you don't start now. So don't stress about it, right? We can only do better when we know better. All these things that I basically spill out on a daily basis. But by week 12, I would really like for you guys to have started your homework. So like Nicole, you're 13 weeks, no big deal. You're just a week behind. But what I mean by starting your homework is starting to see what's out there that may be applicable to you, right? And I also want you to start thinking about who is going to be using these items in your house. Is your mom going to be with the 20s when and if you have to go back to work? And if so, could your mom pick up the stroller? Are you going to be flying solo most of the time? And are you planning on bottle feeding? So maybe you want to start thinking about, a feeding pillow of some sort. Just think about the type of life that you would like to have. I do not know what reality holds in store for us, but there's no reason to not prepare for best case scenario. Okay, so by week 12, I want you to start your homework. And by week 18, I want you to sign up for your accounts. So if you haven't, do so. So the ones that we see moms, twin moms signing up for most are Amazon, Babylist, and Target. I do believe that Walmart has its own baby registry, but sign up for anything. If you want to sign up for Pottery Barn, Crate and Barrel, whatever, sign up for all of your registries and just know that Babylist is kind of like a compilation of a bazillion different registries. And then there's also My Registry, which My Registry is one of the only places that you could register for Twiniversity classes and have your family pay for those in case your insurance doesn't. But just know we want to sign you up for those things sooner than later. The other reason is because a lot of these registry companies are going to allow you to do something called registry completion. So even if you do not send the notification out to all your baby shower invitees, if you registered at Target and you put a bunch of stuff on there, after you had your baby shower, you could go to Target and usually we get 10% off of the items that were on our list, okay? By week 19 though, we definitely want to start building. So think about, let's start adding things in there. Now remember, we have a few weeks that we're going to add stuff to our baby registry, but we're not going to stress about it. We're just going to leave it on there and we can make some fine-tuned details. So if you're taking this class during that time, this is the best time. All right. By week 24, I want that to be wrapped up. And ideally, I would like for your baby shower invitations to go out if you're going to have a baby shower. And I want the whole world to know. Tell everybody, every Tom, Dick, Harry, everybody at church, everybody at the community center, any place where you go that people may buy you presents. I would like them to do that. And the funny thing is, people actually do want to be generous. They just don't know what to get new families. And so being able to guide them, while some of us feel like, oh my goodness, I'm really, I feel weird about telling people about my registry. How many of you guys
Think
feel
we should
weird?
sign up for Pottery Barn Registry.
Yes, we should sign up for Pottery Barn Registry. Christine, I'm going to mute you. So, yeah, sign up for everything. And so now, why I want you to tell the world is because people, like I said, want to buy you stuff. But know this, okay? When you're registering, before we even get into the meat and potatoes of this class, try to register for different items at different price points because not everybody's going to be able to afford, $100. Some people may only have $10 to spend. Some people may have $50 to spend. Some people may have an unlimited bankroll. So when you're registering, please make sure that you think about, do I have enough $50 items? Do I have enough $20 items? And then just genuinely have a variety of prices for everybody. Okay. Because that's something that is a problem, is that when people come to your registry and maybe they were one of the last people there and they only have $20 left, they're like, I can't get her anything. There's only, the $200 items left on her registry. So you may even want to check, maybe not you, but maybe your sister, maybe your mom, maybe your mother-in-law, maybe your partner, but have somebody check midway through to just make sure that there's still a variety of items. Yes, at diaper registry, Sam, 100%. Definitely register for those diapers. Now, when you're registering for diapers, we'll just talk about that for a second. Make sure that you're registering for size newborn, size ones, and size twos. If you get any of those, you could always return the bigger ones for smaller ones and vice versa, as long as the box isn't open. So a lot of times if we live in smaller apartments or if we live in tiny homes, we sometimes have a tendency to like open the box and shove things in a closet and just get stuff out of the way. But we don't want to open a closed box of diapers or wipes until it's time that we need them, because if we do need to exchange them or return them, they won't take them back if they're open. Okay, so that's my 2 cents on my diaper registry. All right, so if you haven't, know that we actually have a full twin ready registry guide that is filled with tons of information. So you should have links in your email right now. Amanda's been sending them out. I unfortunately do not have a copy of this with me today, but I'm going to show you some screenshots of them. So we'll go through those one at a time. But if you want to really see like the most thorough registry you could possibly have, we have put that together for you. Now, of course, I do want you to know that we have color coded our registry. So this is typically what a registry page looks like. And if you look at the bottom, we kind of separate things at what's nice to have, what you should borrow, what you should skip, and what should be covered by your insurance. So know that no matter what, whether it's feeding and short, like travel, playtime, bath time, just know that we do have everything separated. And if you have kind of like a minimum budget, and if you have just like minimum places to put stuff, then I would look at the must have items. And we did put a little thing next to the thing that says must have. Can I also ask you guys another question? Because we're going to do this class in a little, another class in a few weeks. But how many of you guys have actually created a budget for your babies? Like, how many of you have sat down with your family and anybody who is a decision maker when it comes to finances in your life? How many of you have sat down and said, okay, what is the amount of money that we could spend on these babies? Has anybody done that? No. Okay, we're working on it this month. Okay, so the thing is I would say, good, Rose, you did. Most people don't. And so I do recommend that you do sit down and come up with an item, like a list, and just say, okay, could we afford to spend 500, 1,000, 10,000, whatever it is, whatever number fits you appropriately. And of course, there's no judgment on anything. But if you only have like a budget of, I'm going to say like realistically about $1,300, we could probably get away with most items, especially if we really are very conscious about borrowing the things that we could borrow, making sure that our insurance covers the things that we have to get covered. So just know, I think that that's pretty okay, especially if you have hand-me-downs from friends or family or whoever. But just genuinely sit down and think about how much you could actually spend. Because what tends to happen is people overspend. And in all honesty, you don't need that much stuff. Let's remember, yes, of course, times are different than they were 100 years ago. But 100 years ago, I mean, yes, they had some strollers. Yes, they barely had cribs, a little bassinets, maybe some Moses baskets, but you don't need a lot. You may want a lot, and I want you to have everything that you want. But realistically, if your budget does not allow you to have an unlimited budget, we really got to buckle down and we really have to make sure that we're just getting the stuff that we need first and then the stuff that we want second. Okay. All right. So now I'm going to go to my next slide because I just want to make sure that I'm doing something correctly. Okay. So when we're thinking of creating our registry, know that you do have to look in different segments. So we have ours covered by basics, room for two, we have feeding, and then I believe that we have travel, on the road. So on the road, clothing, bath time, and what was our last one? Clothing, bath time, and playtime. Okay, so we have everything separated for you, and it's all in that guide. And just so you know, if finances are not allowing you to purchase this, like don't let that be a reason to not have our Twin Ready Registry guide. You could email us at community@twiniversity.com, and we do have scholarships that are available. So please do not let finances hold you back from having the information that you need. So we're going to jump in right now. We're going to talk about basics. So there are things that we have to have in our home pretty much immediately. So when it comes to basic supplies, these are the things that I would like for you to have. So classically, I would like for you to have diapers. I would recommend that you start with a newborn diaper. Many of our babies are born a little earlier than singletons, so sometimes they're a little bit lower on the birth weight. I would say on average, most twinnies go from anywhere from 4 to 6 pounds, and yet yes, that is kind of like a drastic range, but that's pretty much it. So I would say on average, most twinnies are born about 5 pounds. But of course, we've had twinnies that were born well over 7 pounds, and we've had twinnies that have been born 2 pounds and change. So we never really know, but we're going to just buy the newborns. You're not going to buy preemies. You're not going to buy size ones. These are the things that you must have in your house. Now, speaking of diapers, if you have ever thought about cloth diapering, this would be the time to really think about that. So there are plenty of families in the United States and definitely outside of the United States that use plenty of cloth diapers. And although you're like, no, that's crazy, we can't do that, it's too much to wash, it's a lot of money, man. Diapers are really expensive. So a lot of twin families have been doing hybrid diapering, where maybe they'll do conventional diapers during the day and then cloth diapers are at night, or vice versa. It's something to think about. And weirdly, cloth diapers are great to get secondhand. And you're like, that's disgusting, Nat. Trust me, if you think that those sheets that you're going to sleep on and deliver your babies in the hospital were freshly new out of the package, you got another thing coming. So anytime that you want to buy stuff that you're getting secondhand, whether it's cloth diapers, onesies, blankets, burp cloths, whatever, you could buy a laundry sanitizer. And so you could wash them in super duper hot water and then with a laundry sanitizer, and you will be golden. So think about your cloth diapering adventure. Certainly not mandatory by any means, but it's a lot of times people forget that it's actually an option. Okay. Now we need baby wipes. What kind of baby wipes? How many baby wipes do we need? There is no such thing as too many baby wipes. You're going to use baby wipes not just to change diapers, but to clean up spittles. You might use it to freshen up your face. Forget it. Let me tell you, you and baby wipes, you're going to have a nice relationship together. So when you're buying your baby wipes, which type do you buy? A, you buy the ones on sale. That's the first thing that I want to tell you. And I do want to advise you that baby wipes should be on the damp side, but not too moist. If you could take a baby wipe and you could wring it out, it is way too wet. And one of the greatest tidbits that I'm going to give to you is that when you are changing your potatoes' diapers, you want to make sure that their butts are dry and their little nether bits are dry before you put any diaper cream on, any ointments on, anything. Their skin should be dry because what could happen is if we don't clean them like 100% okay, and then we end up slapping on some Desitin, some A&D, we could be trapping some bacteria underneath those ointments. And so if we use a wipe that is way too moist or damp, I know some people hate the word moist, I apologize, but if it's way too damp, you're going to leave a lot of wetness on their skin. And then when you put that cream on, it's definitely going to happen. I find that this is the case with water wipes a lot of the time, unfortunately. Many people love and rave about water wipes. I'm not saying that they're bad. I'm just saying that if you get water wipes, maybe keep the little flap up for a day so that they could dry out a tiny bit. Or, of course, you could just literally squeeze the whole packet and let the water come out. Now, vice versa. If you left your wipes open for too long and now they are bone dry, they are not garbage. All you have to do is put a little bit of water in there. They'll get super moist again, and then you're good to go. Okay, so baby wipes, no such thing as too many. Diapers, you're looking at least 150 is what I'd like for you to have in your house at all times. So that's like your par stock. And so that is if you have like a super duper blowout week, or you just have like, I want to make sure that you have enough. 150 is what we're looking for on like a heavy week. Yes, that is a lot of diapers. I will warn you. That is a lot of diapers. That is a lot for your carbon footprint. You can always buy organic diapers. You could do whatever you like. But 150 is kind of what we're looking for. Hence why I always bring up that hybrid diapering. All right, now a wipes warmer, that's got the big S. Skip it. Yes, if your babies are, Richie Rich, like the cartoon, I think I'm dating myself right now, then yes, you could go get a fancy wipes warmer. But odds are you're going to use it for the first maybe week, and then you're going to be like, this is so dumb. I can't even believe we bought this. Namaste. Save your money. Take that off your registry, please. Rarely do people actually continue using it. And then think about this. If you got your potatoes used to only having warm wipes on their butt, and now you're like at a restaurant or you're at a picnic in the summertime, and now you go to wipe their butts and it's ice cold, bloody murder, those potatoes are going to scream. So please skip the wipes warmer. Now, burp cloths, a lot of times you guys are buying burp cloths that are way too expensive. I have to tell you, you have to remember, these are just cloths that your baby is going to spit up on. So when I see you guys spending like $10 a burp cloth, which yes, I have had clients who spent that, I just don't even understand what's happening there. You could buy hand towels from Costco that'll serve the same purpose. So we just need something to catch that spit up. In a perfect universe, once again, it would have kind of like a waterproof side, but a lot of times people are getting kind of like the muslin. Is it muslin or like linen? Like they're like nice and soft. They're great. They don't have a waterproof side. So if that baby's really going to spit up a lot, it's coming right at you. So there are plenty of families out there that still to this day buy cloth diapers, but the old school cloth diapers, not the new ones with the snaps and gussets and all that. They just buy old school cloth diapers. They work fantastic and they're very, very affordable. So we got that. Pacifiers. Yes, I will tell you, as an IBCLC, the amount of times that I hear, I was told that we can't introduce pacifiers for the first month. I don't know who made up this rule. My babies were given a pacifier in the NICU within the first day of their life, and my kids had no issue with nipple confusion. I did wish that I had a little bit more lactation care, but in general, you'll be fine. So many families of twins, we have to use pacifiers because we literally have to pacify another kid while we're tending to one. All right, guys. So pacifiers are fine. When you're buying pacifiers, look for ones that have like a little head on them. So like the MAM pacifiers, which is what my kiddo was using in that third slide. But those pacifiers, the ones that we get from the hospital that are just like a cylinder, it's harder for them to hold onto it because their tongue does this little undulation. And so they need some type of a bulb to hold it firmly in their mouth. So Bibs is a company, they actually make a multi-pack of pacifiers that are 4 different shapes and varieties of pacifiers, something you should consider adding onto your registry. Okay. Receiving blankets, we got those swaddle sacks, depending on which ones you like. I'm a big fan of Love to Dream, have been since they came out 13 years ago, I guess, right about now. So Love to Dream is a paws up swaddle, right? So like your baby, it's their first bank robbery. So your baby sleep like this, but it gives your babies the opportunity to chew on their little paws if they like. And if they roll over, they could kind of like lift up their tiny little head if they need to. So think about the different swaddle sacks. But swaddle sacks are something, or receiving blankets, swaddle sacks, bibs, burp cloths, they're all something you could get secondhand. So look on Facebook Marketplace, look on your local mom swap group, but be careful because I'm telling you, don't overspend on these items because we could just laundry sanitize them. Okay. Now, cord blood banking is something that I'm curious. I asked at the last class and know that they are a big partner of Twiniversities and have been for at least 10 years. So I am a family that would have used my cord blood. So this is why I am so much on a soapbox. It is certainly not mandatory that you bank your kids' cord blood. However, in the past 16 years that I have been running Twiniversity, I have seen extensive things done with stem cells that are just mind blowing. So, like in the UK, they are regrowing esophagi. So, I don't know the plural of esophaguses. So they are regrowing that with 3D printing and stem cells. It's really insane what's happening. And know that the stem cells that are harvested from your umbilical cord can not only be used for the kiddos, they could be used for you too. They could be used for your sister. They could be used for your mother-in-law. It's their magical, magical cells that unfortunately we are only able to harvest them, which is such a hard word to say, like we're harvesting our stem cells during our delivery because they lie within your umbilical cord. And even if you're like Nat, we want to do delayed cord blood clamping. That's specifically why we work with CBR. They're one of the only companies that allows delayed cord blood clamping because they have like a little siphon at the end of their collection. So when it's time, your placenta gets delivered, it goes off to the side, and then they pull out these magical stem cells and they cryopreserve them. Now, why we specifically have gone with CBR, multitude of reasons. Number one, they have something called the Newborn Possibilities Program, which will allow you to bank and store 100% for free if you have a family history of certain disorders or diseases. And simply they're doing this is because they want the clinical data. Makes sense. I don't mind. You could have my clinical data, God forbid, if I need to use those stem cells. And another thing is that they do not collect payment until they know they have a viable sample. So a lot of stem cell companies out there will literally take your stem cells, they'll put them in a cryopreservation, and then God forbid you need them, which about 3% of people actually use their stem cells. So I am telling you, but then it's also only a 3% likelihood that you would have twins. So throwing that out there too. So know that what was I just saying? So I'm saying that that they cryopreserve them. They don't actually know if they have enough stem cells for a transfer, which is kind of crappy. So if we look at other companies, know that that is what they are doing, and they also are typically using shared banks. But when it comes to CBR, they're using a bank that is just theirs. They have no other samples but CBR. They have almost 1 million samples right now in storage. So they are in a geographically desirable place. So their bank is in Arizona. So there's no earthquakes, there's no storms, there's no hurricanes, there's no tornadoes. It's pretty bland over where they are. And then I just really like that you don't have to pay until we know that there is a viable sample. And yes, we have had Twiniversity families use their samples. So it's just great to have. And it's one of those things that you might not ever need it, but if you do need it, you're going to really want it. And unfortunately, that was me, and I did not have it. So yeah, so make sure you speak to your doctor. You could call them directly, 1-800 cord blood, but they will give you all the information that you need. All right, so just saying, bring this up, and you need to make sure that you pack that for your delivery day. Okay, guys? All right, now in their rooms, you're going to need different things. Is my next slide cribs? Yes. Okay, so I want to talk about cribs, and I'm going to kind of jump right into that. So you do need other things, but this is something that's very important. So when you are doing your room layout, there are two ways that it's ideal for your twinnies cribs to be. A, they could either be directly next to each other, of which you connect them, so that if one twinnie should ever climb into the other twinnie's crib, they're not going to separate. Okay, so you guys figure out what that means. If you want to put these stoppers on the wheels, if you want to tie them together, if you want to screw them together, entirely up to you. But at most points in twinnies' lives, they will try to get to their twin. It's just, this is just our life. So because of that, they either need to be directly next to each other or they need to be 3 feet apart. Because we unfortunately have had issues where one twinnie was climbing into the other twinnie's crib and then got caught between the two. We do not want that to happen. I don't want your kids to fall on the floor either, but if they're going to, it's going to be, I don't know really what's safest, but I do know that we need them to either be 3 feet apart or connected together so that they would have access to each other. So now there are 3 different types of cribs that are on the market at this current time, and we're talking cribs. I'm not talking bassinets. I'm not talking Moses baskets. I'm not talking about anything other than cribs. And the reason why I'm going right to cribs is many families do not actually use bassinets because they either A, don't have the finances, or B, they don't have the room. You do what you got to do. So if you have a room for your potatoes, you could buy 2 cribs. Now, hear me out. A lot of times people are like, we don't have enough room. I have enough room for 2 mini cribs. Well, do you have enough room for 1 mini crib and 1 standard crib? Because your potatoes are going to get big enough. And at some point, they're not going to be able to fit in the, which way? In that way. They're not going to be able to fit in the mini crib. What are we going to do then, right? So if we buy 1 convertible crib or 1 standard crib and 1 mini crib, then we'll only need to buy 1 more standard crib. Issues with mini cribs. They take different size sheets. They take different size mattresses. So just know that if you are going to buy a mini crib, you are expected that you're going to have to buy those things additional. Now, when you are buying a standard crib, which is what I recommend, you don't need to break the bank. We've seen, Amanda and I go to a lot of trade shows throughout the countries, and we get to see all the new baby furniture that's coming out. And one time I remember we saw this one crib. I think the crib was it was like $13,000. And it was made of like this very specific lucite. And I'm like, what? Could you imagine spending $26,000 on a crib? I'm not judging you if you spend $26,000 on a crib, but your kids are never going to remember that they were in that crib. And then what are you going to do with that after? Right? So if you're going to buy 2 cribs, buy the least expensive cribs that go with your aesthetic, that go with your coloring. And you could find cribs as low as $140. You do not have to buy a $19 million crib. That's not something that we need. If you want a $19 million crib, go for it. Do what you got to do. But if we're watching a budget, think about not only do we need this crib, but we also have to get 2 mattresses. Now, go cheapo on the cribs, but spend some money on the mattresses because that mattress is going to go from their crib to their toddler bed. So there's a good chance that you could use that same crib mattress for up to 5 years, where you may just be using that crib for 3 years. Now, when you're buying the regular standard crib, think about how tall you are, right? So I am 5'10"-ish. I would say 5'11", 5'10". I don't know, I'm shrinking as I get older, but let's just go with 5'10". I could reach over comfortably when the crib is at the lowest setting with no problem. However, my daughter, weirdly, is only 5'1", right? And my aunt is only 4'11". So when my aunt would have to go get the babies out of the crib, she couldn't reach when they were at the lowest setting, which was kind of funny. I enjoy it because she's tiny and cute, my little aunt, but she couldn't really reach. It was very, very difficult for her. So one of us would have to be able to help her, or she would have to have the baby sleep someplace else if we weren't going to be there. So just know that if you're buying a crib, I do think it's important that you get a crib that has several different height levels. However, you do have to think about who's going to be using this crib and what the height levels are going to be. Okay, just want to throw that out there for you. So the next thing is that people often are buying convertible cribs, right? So I do air quotes, convertible cribs, because they convert. They go from a typical crib, and then they go to a toddler bed, and then they go to, a full adult size headboard, and then they turn into Optimus Prime. Okay, listen, right now, how many of you genuinely, really asking, not even asking as a joke, how many of you right now do you have a headboard from your crib on your adult bed? Anyone? Bueller? Does anybody have that? Okay. Because they've existed for as long as you have. Convertible cribs have always been out there. So the issue with that is that we are crazy, right? We are like, hey, we could use these convertible cribs, and this is such a great way, and they're only $300 more. But for $300 more, we're going to get so much more out of this. Not necessarily true. Okay. All right. So far, you guys with me? Thumbs ups, hearts. Let me know that you could still hear and see me okay. You already got the convertibles. Yeah. Okay, but you're doing good, Rose. 160 is fantastic. Like, that's fine. Like, if you're not going to break the bank and you're going to be able to get everything, like, go for it. But I just don't want you spending more money on something because it converts. All right. All right. So that is my preachability when it comes to cribs. Now, if you guys need to know this is something that's important to know. Do you ever go onto a website and then you see it's like, this won the Mom's Choice Award, this won the Parents' Choice Award, this won this award? Do you ever see those stickers on items? Let me know. Have you seen those before? Well, I want to let you know that a lot of the awards that are given out within the United States are kind of like a pay to play, which means, and this goes for many of them, like the Mom's Choice one, 100%, the Parents Pick from Parents Magazine, 100%. And so what typically happens when there is an award given is that companies reach out to companies and say, we're doing an award for the best crib in the United States. Do you want your item to be part of our, of our survey? It's going to be a $60 fee. So some of them, yeah, you'd be lucky if it's a $60 fee. Some of them are upwards of thousands and thousands of dollars. So when you see those awards, I'm not saying that they don't matter because it depends on which award it is, but I am saying that you're seeing a limited selection of the companies that could afford to spend money on that marketing. Now, here's my pitch for Twiniversity. When we do our Twinny Awards, we actually have no contact with the brands. We don't tell any of the brands we're doing it. We survey you guys and we ask you guys. So we are one of the only awards that are given out within the baby world that have nothing to do with sponsorship. Nothing. These are entirely peer-to-peer led opinions and products. So if you go to our website, and there's a little link right there at the bottom, if you click on that, you will see all of the 2026 winners. Oh, hold on. Did we do 2022? What year is this? I don't even know anymore. So it's the last one that we just did. We do them every May. So you'll see that come May, a lot of your babies might be here. And then we'll say, hey, what are you guys using? And literally, I think we give away like an iPad. That's all that we do. And we ask you guys for your opinion because we want to make sure that we are really recommending products that people are actually using. We don't want it to be just for the companies that could afford to pay us. So know that our Twinny Awards, whenever you see them launched, it is definitely worth a look, and it is the reason why you should be following us. All right, now, you guys want to play a game? I always feel like this is kind of like a baby shower, and I always want to play a game. So if you're ready for a game, I want to see a thumbs up. I want to see a heart. I want to see a smiley face. I want to see something because this is how I wake myself up. Yes! Okay, guys, this is the question. All right. I did not give you this number before, and I just realized this. I told you that you guys are going to use a lot of diapers, did I not? Right now, the game is going to be, how much will you actually spend on diapers until your twins are fully potty trained. And I will tell you that the average for people to be potty trained in the United States for boys is about 4. So, where do you think you fall in that? That's not the sound effect that I wanted. Well, I don't have it. I usually have, I guess that would be it. I usually have the Jeopardy music. I don't know where the heck it is today. But how much do you think that you're going to spend until your 20s are fully potty trained? And if you get closest, and I'm going to pick randomly, you will get a copy of our newborn twin sleep guide, which is meant to be read during your pregnancy. So it is not too soon to take a look at it. So, how much will you spend to diaper your 20s until they are fully potty trained? I will give you a hint. It is going to be diapers, it is going to be wipes, and it is going to be pull-ups. And we even included very few swim diapers because we know that there's going to be some summers that they're going to be doing pee-pees in their pants, and you might take them to a swim class or whatever. So, how much will you spend to diaper your 20s? Do, 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 boop. Boop, beep, boop, 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 beep, boop, boop, beep, boop, 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 boop. Wow, Nicole, you went crazy there. Boop, beep, boop, 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 boop. Beep, boop, 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 beep, beep. I'm going through the answers. Boop, boop, boop. I got 2 winners. Boop, 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 boop. I watch Jeopardy a lot. Could you tell? All right. If you guess $7,500, you have won. So Miss Lauren and Miss Sam, you have won. So all you need to do is congratulations. Everybody congratulate our family members. Congratulations to you guys. You want a copy of our book, just email us at community@twiniversity.com, and then we will get that out to you. Okay. If you want a Kindle copy, you let us know, whatever it is. But congratulations to you guys. And yes, that's a lot of freaking money. And seriously, Nicole, what happened there? You went crazy with $30,000. What are those diapers made of gold? Crazy. But yes, it's so freaking expensive to diaper your 20s, but it is what it is because nobody wants to hold poopies in their hands, right? So there you go. All right, kiddos. So let's go into feeding. Now, we're going to talk about a few things when it comes to feeding. So that is going with, by the way, about 20 diapers a day is what we looked at. And then no, actually it's less than that. We know that it's going to be 16 diapers a day that you're going to change. So then we went up to, I think what our tally was 18 diapers a day, and we used Pampers, which is kind of the universal what people use for newborns, but we did use the Kirkland wipes. That's how we came up with our answer. Okay. Oh, 7,500. Jenny, I'm sorry that I'm so laggy. Am I laggy for anybody else today? Or am I okay for you guys? I hope I'm not too laggy. Okay, good. All right, so let's go into Feeding Town. All right, Jenny, after the storm, everybody's a little sleepy. Okay, so let's go into Feeding Town USA. Know that lactation support, pumps, any like flanges, all of that is covered by insurance. So please do not spend money out of your pocket to cover these things. And if, like I've told you guys at the delivery day, if you do not have a lactation consultant lined up, you really, really should. And if you would like to have a one-on-one with me, I am currently in network with Aetna, with Cigna, and United Healthcare. And with United Healthcare, there's MultiPlan, there's UMR, there's a lot of different things, Oxford, that's under Aetna. So if you would like to set up a one-on-one 20 meeting, just you and I, email us at community@twiniversity.com. The girls will send you over the form, but all lactation support is covered. And ideally, you would have a lactation consultant meeting before the 20s got here to make sure that we walk you through, whether it's me or somebody else, kind of what's going to happen on delivery day, the things that you're going to want in the house, all that good stuff. Okay. All right. So that is covered by insurance. And know that our Twiniversity Twins breastfeeding class is also covered by insurance. So if you would like more information on that, email us once again at community@twiniversity.com. Now, you do need something that is going to sanitize these bottles and your pump parts. Now, a lot of times you can sanitize your pump parts once a day, but once every 24 hours, you should do like a real sanitization. So you could just literally keep them in the refrigerator or the freezer throughout the day. Please keep them standing upright. But then when you are done with them for the day, just please make sure that you're running through a real sanitization setting. And whatever sanitizer you guys are opting to use, like let's say you're going to use like the Brezza, and we're going to talk more about the Brezza in a second. But if you're going to use the Brezza or even the Mom Cozy, you have to make sure that you have the little dishwasher tabs that go along with that. And if you don't use them, then you're not using that device appropriately. And unfortunately, for both the Mom Cozy and the Brezza, I have had clients who ended up getting thrush because they weren't sanitizing correctly. So please consider getting a bottle washer, dryer, sterilizer, one that does everything for you so you do not have to think about it. But you're going to have to think about how many bottles fit in that per cycle, and then make sure that you have enough bottles in your home. So how many bottles do I think you should have? I think you should have about 16 8-ounce bottles. If you are planning on breastfeeding until the cows come home, then you might be able to get away with the 5-ounce bottles, but most newborn bottles are 4 ounces, and breastfed babies do tend to go up to about 5 ounces is where they're going to usually cap out at. Rarely do we see 20s or and even singletons go above 5 or like mostly 6, because the composition of your breast milk changes. So while you have formula fed babies that might be drinking 9 ounces, it is not unusual to have a breastfed baby that drinks 4 ounces, 5 ounces. It's not weird. So we go on average, we tell you to get the 8-ounce or 9-ounce bottles, and I would have 16 of them in the house if you are planning on doing the majority of bottle feeding. And once again, don't open the box. If you don't use those bottles, you could return them for something else at Target or Walmart or Amazon, wherever you bought them. Ellie says, could we skip the 4-ounce bottles as long as we use the right nipple? So Ellie, like this is hit or miss, right? Because I have plenty of clients that have babies that are like 7 months and are still using the 4-ounce bottles if it's pumped breast milk. So if you are not sure what you want your feeding adventure to look like, then I would skip the 4-ounce bottles and I would just go right to the big bottles. And that will save you a ton of money. Did you read my book, Ellen? Because I always say that in there. Yes, you are more than welcome, my love. Okay, so baby bottles. Now, sometimes breast milk storage bottles, I shouldn't say sometimes, all the time. Hey, thank you for reading my books. All the times breast milk bottles are covered by insurance. So if you should have any breast milk transport bottles, like Medela makes them that have a little screw top, Spectra makes them that have the little screw top, know that those are covered by your insurance. Okay, so you could call your insurance company. We talked a little bit about this at Delivery Day Boot Camp, and we're going to talk about it coming up at Boot Camp and Pumping Camp that we have coming up. But just we do want to make sure that we're holding them their feet to the fire and covering things that we need them to cover. Okay, so the baby bottles, 16 8-ounce bottles, and then the feeding chair. So what I mean by a feeding chair is like the Twinsy pillow is not a great feeding positioner for baby bottles, but you can get something like a table for two, and finding that secondhand is the way to go. They're very expensive. I shouldn't say that. I think that they're very expensive, but of course we do know that expensive is a subjective term, but I find that they're very pricey. And I don't necessarily know if they're 100% worth it for every family. So a lot of times people could bottle feed their twinnies just in 2 bouncy seats. That would be appropriate. But genuinely, if you can find a feeding chair that is specifically for twinnies, and you could find it through a local multiple club or a local, mom on Facebook Marketplace, yeah, definitely got to grab that. Okay, Ashley said, how should the bottles be stored once sanitized? Just a closed cupboard? Yeah, closed cupboard is totally fine. If you have a cat, yes. So what you could do is, Ash, you could always put a baby lock on the cabinets, because sometimes cats could even, I know that my daughter's cat could get into anything. So if you find that your little kitties are getting into everything right now, then childproof right now. What's the hold up, right? Hopefully the cats won't be able to unchildproof it. But yeah, a closed cupboard is 100% fine once everything is sanitized. If you are genuinely worried that the cats are going to like drink out of the top of it, or they're going to sleep on top of them, you could always put them in either like a Rubbermaid container, which I've seen many families do, or even Ziploc bags if you're really worried about it. but typically you're totally fine to just put them in a closed cupboard. So Kendra says, can we use bouncy chairs with infant inserts? Yes, you can, Kendra. That is definitely one of the ways to do it. Ellie said, definitely checking marketplace for Facebook for the table for two. Just got one for 70. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, Ellie. That's it. Like 70 is great because those things are like 500 smackaroonies. So yes, you do need other things. I strongly recommend that everybody have microwave sanitizer bags or sterilizer bags. Medela makes them, Mom Cozy makes them, Dr. Brown's makes them, but have some of those. They're like a quick 90-second, you could sanitize everything. What else? The nursing pads, like I like nursing pads, but if you're going to get nursing pads, just buy the ones that are washable. Don't buy the ones that you could throw in the garbage. Okay, Sam said we found another twin mom who had 1-year-old twins and was ready to get rid of all the things. Sam, that is your diamond in the rough there, my friend. So, talking about the Bretza, I have played with this in person, and I cannot even tell you the amount of clients that have this. But why it's so magical is that it really does fit an immense amount of items that are in there. And I believe that they're actually even coming up with additional adapters to wash regular household stuff. So if you look at the picture in the bottom left-hand corner, you'll see that it's washing flanges perfectly. Those are Dr. Brown's bottles that are in there. So you could see that venting system, which is a pain in the patootie to wash. But just know that a full washer, dryer, sterilizer cycle is 88 minutes. Okay, I'm giving you the heads up. So I told you before, buy enough stuff. Let's see what it holds. This will easily hold 4 Dr. Brown's bottles and your flange equipment. But if you need it to hold more or you don't feel like using it as many times, you are good to go. Now, a lot of times people ask me, what's the difference between this and the Mom Cozy? The reason why we always prefer the Bretza over the Mom Cozy is that, what is that called when you have the dirty water tank? Can somebody tell me, like when you camp, you have, babe, what's it called when you have dirty water in like a campground? Gray water. That's it. Thank you. Sorry, I had to phone a friend for that one. So the baby Bretza washer dryer sterilizer has its own tank for the gray water, whereas the Mom Cozy has to be next to a sink. So if you plan on having this anywhere other than your kitchen or your bathroom, then you need to get the Bretza instead of the Mom Cozy because you're going to have that next to a sink. So yes, that is the big difference between them, which means that if you want to put this on a dining room table, you want to put this in the baby's room, you want to put this on a second story that's not near the kitchen, entirely up to you, but that is the biggest difference and really the most practical difference of anything that they have. Okay, so out and about, things that we need car seats. They are mandatory. It is every state mandates that our twinnies be in car seats upon discharge of the hospital. And the funny thing is even if you're in walking distance of the hospital, they're going to still want to do something called a car seat test, where basically they're going to put the twinnies in their car seat to make sure that their little head doesn't drop. Because if their head drops, it could actually interfere with their breathing. So they do something called a car seat test to make sure that your twinnies are totally capable of sitting upright for the entire time that they're in their car seat. All right. Now, I'm going to talk about the double snap and go in a second, and you will have to get a full-size stroller. So I'm going to the next slide because I know it's going to cover that. So there are 3 types of car seats that are available on the market. There's infant, there's convertible, and there's all-in-one. And when we're looking at an infant car seat, that means that it's going to be just for infancy. We're not going to be able to use this past 35 pounds for most car seats, but of course you have to read the instructions for your car seat. The ease of use, though, make it so delicious. Now, you could get an infant car seat anywhere from about $110 all the way up to $600 and change per car seat. So you really do want to think about the features that you really want to have, because it's one of those cost versus worth. So if you were like, I have to be able to put this in, my Ubers because we don't have a car, then maybe you get one that's a little easier to install, that you definitely don't need the base. So think about how you're going to use your car seat and then make your purchase. Okay, not the other way around. And please don't buy things just because they're trendy and that you see them on TikTok. Like genuinely, with all baby products, whether I recommend them to you, your friend does, whatever, you have to use what's best for your family. I do not know what's best for your family. I do not know what's best for your situation. I certainly don't know what's best for your finances. But a lot of times I see people just buying what's trendy because everybody else has it. However, you will fall into that trap, and it is not the most practical way to spend money. So right now there are quite a few like trending car seats. However, there are companies like Baby Trend and Britax that make extraordinary car seats that are going to be, a quarter of the price of some of those super bougie ones that are out there. So just think about that, okay? Because a lot of times if you go and look at like the trendy car seats, you'll be like, there's no way that we could have two infant car seats. Well, you know what? We got to do a little bit more homework, okay? And that's the benefit of taking classes like this, is that it gives you time to do some homework. So when we're looking at an infant car seat, the features that I'd like for you to have is, one is a no rethread harness, which means that there is a lever on my headrest, which we raise or lower, that will move our shoulder straps either up or down. When your baby is rear facing, their shoulder strap needs to be at or below their shoulder. And if they're forward facing, it needs to be at or above their shoulder. And that is important to know, because as your twinnies get taller and taller and taller and taller, you will need to modify that car seat to make sure that that strap is in the appropriate spot to protect them as much as possible. So a no rethread harness is just the lever, but it is a little bit more money, but do your homework, because I think that feature is worth it. Because a lot of times I know that if you saw that picture before of my twinnies, they've always had a huge size discordance. It is called a no rethread harness. Like, we're not threading a needle, no rethread harness. So with my twinnies always having a size discordance, there was many times that I had to change his shoulder straps, but hers could just stay in that position. And because it was such a pain in the butt to take the back off the car seat, to take it, like I needed a screwdriver, like it was really a challenge to change the height of their straps. And because of that, I would just be like, oh, we're raising his, we'll raise hers too. I did not know at the time, right? I could only do better when I know better. I did not know how harmful that could have actually been to her. God forbid that we were in an accident. So you live and learn. So do I know about the Nuna seats? That's the one that we bought secondhand with the stroller and the bases. Now, Sam, a car seat, like, unless you bought them from somebody you know, I'm not a big fan of getting secondhand car seats, because if that car seat was ever in an accident, right? So if you're buying it from somebody that is like, oh, we don't know, like, we never had any issues, take the cover off and make sure that there are no cracks in that car seat. And also call the company and make sure that you are registering that car seat in your name. Baby products don't have to just stay with one owner. That's not a law. So it's just like you could change the title of your car and give it to somebody else. You could change the title of your car seat. You could change the title of your stroller. You could change the title of your crib. Anything that you're getting secondhand. And also, like Ellie was saying that she got stuff on Marketplace, anything you get on Marketplace, please call that manufacturer and make sure that it is registered in your name, because if there was a recall, I need you to be notified, not the last person that had that. Okay. So going back to car seats, the no rethread harness is a good one. Sam, make sure that that Nuna car seat was never in a car accident. And remember, the bases do not have to be used. Okay. A lot of you guys sometimes go to the hospital and I see you guys carrying your car seats with the bases into the labor and delivery area or into the nursery area to take your kids home. Those bases are meant to stay in the car, and that car seat could be used with or without the bases. Now, why would you get a convertible car seat and not the infant car seat? Well, if your budget is super duper tight, a convertible car seat could be used from birth all the way through like 110 pounds, depending on the car seat and depending on the height of your children and depending on the weight of your children. So please make sure that you're reading your car seat books. So you may just want to spend money on that car seat instead of getting an infant car seat, a convertible car seat, and then a booster seat. All right. Now that leads me into the next one, the all-in-one. An all-in-one is literally what you think it is. It goes from infancy all the way till your kids are going to be out of car seats. So it's not only going to be a booster seat, it's also going to be a seat that has a belt positioner. And it is very, very, please, if you remember nothing of this class, remember this. It is imperative that you keep your children in their car seats for the amount of time that they are allowed to be in those car seats. So if your car seat says we go up to 4 feet 11 and 110 pounds, you got to use that car seat, because what you guys don't realize is that the danger is actually in the impact, because where that lap belt sits, it has to sit in the right spot to not get their internal organs. Like it has to be on their hips. And the where it is on our hips and where it is on a child's hips are two totally separate things. The other day, I saw a kid that maybe like 6 or 7 years old riding in the front seat. I did not say anything because we were at a red light and they were gone. But had I actually had an opportunity to say something, I would have totally Karened out on that family, because if there's an accident, that kid's going to be in a lot of trouble. Also, and like a kid sitting in the front, deal breaker for me because of that airbag, but whatever. We could have a car seat class too, that's separate. If you are not sure that you have installed your car seat correctly, here, I'm going to put it in the website here, safekids.org. You could go to this website and you could find a local child passenger safety technician in your area. Used to be like maybe 15 years ago, you could go to the police department or the fire department and they would check your car seat. Not so much anymore. So go to safekids.org and you could put in your zip code and see if he's in your neck of the woods. Now, when it comes to strollers, okay, there are way too many double strollers on the market, but I need you to pay attention to only buy a stroller that is specifically made for twins. And all the strollers that I have here are specifically made for twins. So if you're getting something like an Upper Baby Vista or any other stroller that is a 1+1 stroller, understand that stroller was not designed for twinnies. That stroller was designed for you and your singleton. And then, a year or a year and a half later comes by and then you have another singleton. It was not made for two babies born at the same day. So please be mindful when buying your products to not just fall for something that the company is trying to tell you is for twins, because it is total BS. It is not made for twins. It is a fight that me and the rest of the Twiniversity team have gotten into for well over a decade. But if it is not made for twins, how do we know? It has to hold the same amount of weight in the first seat as well as the second seat. Okay, so like if you buy a 1+1 stroller and it's like, well, the first seat holds 50 pounds, but the second seat holds 30 pounds. That's not a twin stroller. That's a 1+1 stroller. Okay. And it's like, oh, you have to use this adapter. Or how about this? If both of my kids can't take a nap at the same time, so if I can't recline both seats at the same time, that is not a twinny stroller. That is a 1+1 stroller. All right. So looking at these right here, if we go from the upper left hand going across reading a book, that is a double umbrella stroller. That is a double side-by-side stroller. Okay. Then you have an inline tandem stroller. Then you have a twin wagon. You have a jogging stroller. And then I do recommend that you get singleton strollers. So if you look at like Facebook Marketplace and you see singleton stroller, grab it. Many twin families have multiple strollers. And that is what I'm going to tell you next, is that most twin families own at least 3 strollers. Okay, so when you're looking at strollers, you've got to think about how I'm going to use this. We already talked about who's going to be putting it in and out of the trunk, right? But also, how are we going to use this? Are we rolling around grass? Are we on cobblestone? Are we on paths? Are we going to go hiking? So there are different wheels for everything, just like there is for a car, right? You wouldn't take a golf cart off-roading in the sands of Namibia. We got to use the right tool for the right job. So most families do start out with a double snap and go. This specific one is from Baby Trend. Currently, they are the only ones that make this. You don't have to get this new either. You could get this secondhand, but this will take any infant car seat that is out there, which is going to be very, very beneficial because you got to get your car seats anyway. Might as well just get a twin double snap and go, and then you're freaking done. Done. Snap it in. So a lot of times it'll say like, oh my God, it's not going to snap in. Well, will it strap in? So if you look even at this picture, you will see that there is a strap for each car seat. So not only does it snap, but you could strap it or vice versa. But we do want to try to get one of these if we can. It is the easiest way to get your twin parenting sea legs without breaking the bank, because you're going to probably be out and about. You already got your car seats and you're done. All right, so take a look at that one for me, guys. Now, playtime. When we're looking at different things that are available on the market, you may want to consider getting a twin infant carrier. The WeGo is one of the most popular, hands down. So take a look at that. You could try to get it secondhand as well. And then also when we're looking at different items, we do want to make sure that we get a play mat that's big enough for twinnies. So this is a big thing. Like if you look at the play mats that are out there, you have to look at the area that's underneath it. Because if we get something that's too small, your twinnies aren't going to be able to play together. And you're going to want to put your twinnies together because peer pressure is a thing. So if you have one twinnie that's rolling over and one twinnie that's just like, no, thank you, that twinnie could start to roll because it watched its twinnie. Got it? So when you're buying a play mat, and I do think it's important that you get something, especially for our families with cats and stuff, just think about who else is going to try to attack these toys, right? Do you have a puppy who's going to be like, oh my God, I want to eat all those birds? Or do you have a little kitty that's just going to swat at them? So think about how you're going to use your playmat, where you're going to use your playmat, how you're going to store your playmat, and make sure that you can fit two under. Even if you did get two separate ones, I want you to have the option of keeping them together if and when you can. Okay? All right, guys. So we are nearing the end of our class. I did pretty good on time today, but know that if you have not taken our Twiniversity class yet, go and sign up. So right now, you will get our whole Twiniversity Expecting Twins class. You'll save 100 smackaroonies. You could scan that right there. It is 103 videos that you watch at your own pace. You watch some with your partner, you watch some with your sister. I do not care. Once again, I just want to make sure that you get the information you need. And if this price, even with $100 off, is too expensive for you, once again, email us at community@twiniversity.com because scholarships are available. Okay. So in this class, like I said, we have over 100 videos to watch. We also have stories from 16 or 18, 16 different twin families that just offer their opinions. We have 17 pages of worksheets with our Twin Ready Registry. And then, of course, we have our digital My Twin Pregnancy digital little workbook that I created for you guys. I love that. All right. I told you I'd have dates. Get a pen. That's why I told you you needed a pen. So February 9th is our boob camp where we will talk about feeding our twinnies. We'll talk a lot about the first experience, but we'll talk also about the biology of twinnies. Don't say that it's boring. Wait till you take the class. If you weren't bored by this, wait till I'm talking about boobs and you'll see you'll have a lot more fun. And then February 10th is our monthly membership. And then the following week is going to be, or 2 weeks following, February 23rd, is our Pumping for Two class. So that will be where I walk you through how to pump, the equipment you had to have, et cetera, et cetera. So make sure that you join us for that. And last but not least, thank you so much for joining us. Like for real, I can't even tell you, the fact that I get to help you guys prepare for your 20s is the freaking bestest. And we don't go anywhere. Know that we are here. So if you have any questions, comments, concerns, whatever, just email us at community@twiniversity.com and we will help you every step of the way. All right, for those of you that are watching on YouTube, I'm stopping our recording, but for those of you that are with me live, I'll have some time to answer questions. So for those of you watching, see you later, alligators. Okay, kiddos.